Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to White House Field, where the Harwich Mariners look to clinch this first-round series against the Chatham Anglers, as the Mariners picked up a crucial 1-0 victory last night at Veterans Field and took a 1-0 advantage over the top-seeded Chatham Anglers in the East, and Harwich will send out Antonio Menendez to try to get that second victory today. I'm Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry, and Tyler, it's been a great start, certainly, yesterday for the Mariners, despite not having a lot of offense, just a one run on 4 hits. A combined no-hit effort, the first no-hitter in Cape Cod postseason play since 1991, getting the job done over the Chatham Anglers with 1-0 victory. Got to feel good if you get that type of pitching in Game 1. What do you look to see? What are you expecting here in Game 2 in terms of starting pitching?
I think we're more or less expecting Harwich to go out there and put together a good offensive set now, although that's going to be easier said than done against a guy like Colby Kubicek. Antonio Menendez has looked very good this year throughout most of his starts. He's not a guy that's overpowering, but he's certainly capable of getting the job done. And then you got guys like Will Heflin coming out of the bullpen who can back him up. So it's basically just going to be about getting a good performance to start, trying to put together a couple of runs together and get to that last inning. But Harwich just kind of figured out how to beat the Chatham Anglers, and it's a universal strategy. They can't beat you if they just don't score. And certainly in a game where the Chatham Anglers didn't put up a single hit yesterday, Harwich comes out on top 1-0. They manufacture one run, a very tough, very slow grind to get that run, but Hal Hughes comes across home plate, and that's the only run that they needed. So far, Colin, Harwich has shut out Chatham in 3 of their 6 meetings, and they've outscored them 25-10 over the course of the last 6 games. So this is a phenomenal start for the Harwich series, and now they get to come home to White House Field to try to snag Game 2.
Yeah, the Mariners actually held the Chatham Anglers to a 169 batting average going into yesterday's game, so that actually went further down. So it's been a really tough time for the Chatham A's hitting against the Harwich Mariners this season. And you mentioned Hal Hughes. He went 3 for 3 at the bottom of the order yesterday, scoring the lone run of the ball game for Harwich. Who do you expect to kind of step up in this game? Do you expect it to be Hughes again, or is there someone else in that Harwich lineup that you expect to have a big day today?
I mean, there are a lot of different guys that it could be. The offense has been absolutely explosive. But, you know, looking at a really tough righty on the mound, I think it could honestly be a guy like Nico Cavadas, who has been really slow over the course of the last couple of weeks. And he's been a little bit frustrated with himself, but he performs exceptionally well when he plays at home. And this is the kind of game where we could see him kind of break out. He's still down there in the cleanup spot, and so certainly, again, it could be a big day for him. It could also be a big game for somebody who's unexpected, a guy like Sean Harrington, who is getting his first playoff start in only his 2nd game in a Mariners uniform. So, you know, a couple of prime candidates, but I'd be looking at Nico Cavadas right now. I think this is the kind of game that he's primed to come out and have a really, really big performance, and we'll see whether or not he follows suit when we get closer to first pitch.
Now, looking on the other side, it is a win-or-go-home situation for the Chatham A's after not getting the job done offensively yesterday, despite getting good pitching from guys like Daniel Fetterman and Austin Vernon. Luke Bartnicki also going 3 innings, just giving up the lone hit, but all it took was 1 run for Harwich to get the victory. What do they have to do better, I guess, outside of the easy answer, which means get a hit?
Yeah, and I mean, very simply put, they were waiting to try to win Game 2, regardless of the result of Game 1. That's why they saved Colby Kubicek. Let's take a very brief look at what Kubicek has done this year. 30 innings pitched, a .9 ERA. That is absolutely insane. 34 strikeouts to only 9 walks. This is the guy who's been the ace all season long, and the other big thing are the runs. He's given up 10 of them this season, but only 3 of those have been earned. So it's going to be very, very hard for Harwich to get hits and more or less runs off of this guy in Kubicek. But for the Mariners, again, they'll have their own guy out there in Menendez, and as long as they can limit the damage and find a way to manufacture runs, which is what they did yesterday, they're going to give themselves a shot to win this game and potentially take tomorrow off, depending on the rest of the results around the league.
Now, when I look at this Chatham lineup, the 2 guys that kind of jump out to me on the page are the 2 and 3 hitters in Jamal O'Gwyn and Caden Polkovich. These are 2 guys that are in the top 3 in the league in walks drawn. O'Gwyn is in 2nd with 28, right behind him Polkovich in 3rd with 27. We saw 3 walks drawn yesterday, but 11 strikeouts. Do you think that Chatham's going to be a little more patient at the plate in this decisive Game 2?
I mean, I think we're going to see about the same amount of patience that we've seen all year long. It's really going to come down to Menendez. I mean, we've seen Antonio Menendez very cautiously try to pitch around left-handed hitting all season long, and so if he's going to be trying to get them to chase pitches on the outside half of the plate, they're probably going to be sitting back on that and waiting. This is no longer a guy that people haven't seen before. This is now an Antonio Menendez that these guys have had time to scout for, to practice for, and to get ready to face. So we'll see what Menendez looks like out there on the bump. But yeah, I would expect him to be a little bit more careful. How many times yesterday did we see them go out there and swing at the first or second pitch and get soft contact to the shortstop or somewhere on the outfield? Just not the kind of game that Chatham was looking to get yesterday. And you can tell this is a team that's a little bit frustrated because they've been shut out by this Harwich team now 3 times, and there's nothing more demoralizing for a 1 seed than to come in and get your tails kicked by the 4 when it comes to the bat. So they're going to be angry, they're going to be aggressive, but I do think we will see a cautious approach at the plate, especially for guys like Ogwin and Polkovich, because at the end of the day, you just have to get on base.
For the Mariners, of course, it's going to be Antonio Menendez on the mound as a starting pitcher in this game. He's 0-2 with a 3.72 ERA on the season in 29 innings pitched. However, he's had times where he's pitched really well, but Tyler, we know the big weakness for Menendez this year has been the long ball. He is tied for second in the league with the most home runs allowed with 5. What does he need to do today to make sure that he keeps the ball in the ballpark?
I don't really think there's anything he can do because you look at what he brings to the table. He is a sidearm pitcher, and that means there are only a few really good places for him to put his pitches. Now, has he missed a time or two? Yes, but the biggest problem with Antonio Menendez hasn't even been his own fault. It's been the lack of run support that he has gotten this season from the offense. And again, we can see something similar with Colby Kubicek out there on the mound, but in games where he's pitched, Harwich has not provided him with a lot of run support. A lot of the games he's taken losses in had been the 2-0, 3-1 variety, and you just can't win baseball games like that. So for Menendez, I think he's going to go out there and do exactly what he's done all season long. And you know what? If he does give up a home run, so be it. The interesting thing with his 5 bombs is that a couple of them have come here at White House Field, a park that is exceptionally difficult to hit one out in. But again, Menendez, you don't want to change anything in your approach. It's worked so far. The interesting note on Antonio Menendez is that as a reliever this year, he started coming out of the bullpen 2 road appearances, and he looked really rough, a 12.0 ERA, but since being transitioned into a starting role, he has been exceptional. 2.7 ERA, 24 strikeouts to only 7 walks, and the only other glaring issue, as you mentioned, the 5 home runs that he's given up. So we'll see which Antonio Menendez we get, but I don't think he's going to be changing anything in his approach here today.
Menendez looking to continue that success as a starting pitcher in a crucial Game 2 here at White House Field between the Harwich Mariners and the Chatham Anglers. And let's take a look at both teams' starting lineups. We'll start with the road Chatham Anglers, as leading things off will be the center fielder out of Vanderbilt, Cooper Davis, making his debut in this series. Jamal O'Quinn, the right fielder out of USC, will bat second. Caden Polkovich will play second and bat third. Ben Ramirez, the USC shortstop, will bat in the cleanup spot. Left-handed hitting Alex Terrell, the first baseman out of Miami, will bat fifth. Paxton Wallace also making his debut in this series. The DH from Wichita State bats sixth. Colin Hall, left fielder out of Georgia Tech, will bat seventh. Jorge Arenas, who had a big go-ahead home run earlier in the season against the Harwich Mariners, the third baseman out of Stetson, bats eighth. And left-handed hitting catcher Brady Smith out of Florida will round out the Chatham lineup. And looking at the Harwich Mariners, Dylan Noisy out of Texas Tech will play center and lead things off. Chris Gallen, the left fielder out of Boston College, will bat second. Chris Lanzilli, the DH out of Wake Forest, will bat third. Nico Cavadas, the Notre Dame first baseman, tied for the league lead in home runs with ninth, will bat cleanup. Corey Acton, the second baseman, has been really hot lately out of Florida, will bat fifth. Right-handed hitting Joey Weimer, the right fielder out of Cincinnati, will bat sixth. Sean Harrington, just his second game as a Harwich Marison out of Babson College, will bat seventh and do the catching. Riley Terrata, the third baseman, will bat eighth. He is from Dayton University. And Hal Hughes, who had a 3-hit performance and scored the only run for the Mariners in yesterday's game out of LSU, will play short and bat ninth. So, Tyler, a little bit of differences in this Harwich Mariners lineup. I mean, you see the same outfielders out there, but Riley Terrata and Sean Harrington getting opportunities in the 7 and 8 hitters. What do you see them bringing to the table?
Yeah, I mean, Harrington, you look at a guy who had a really big day just a couple days ago, and again, a day where he was on base 3 out of 4 times. He went 1 for 2 throughout the course of that game, and so you see again what he was able to accomplish. So whether or not he can find a way to produce offensively will remain to be seen, but again, I mean, this is a really, really quality team. They have been all season long, and you look at the pieces they have on the bench if they need pinch hitters. Mike Ludwig, Christian Fetko, Pat Winkle, and Max Marshak, guys that, I mean, really could come in late into the game if they need to and produce big. But you know, Riley Tirada's been getting it done the last couple of days. Sean Harrington got it done his debut. We'll see whether or not those guys can continue putting the pieces together here today.
All right, we were just moments from first pitch here at White House Field. The Harwich Mariners look to get some revenge on the Chatham Anglers after last year, and they will try to go for the 2-game sweep over the Anglers. First pitch in just a few moments. You are watching the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry as Harwich Mariners once again looking to clinch the series as they head into this with a 1-0 lead in a best-of-3 series against Chatham after winning last night at Veterans Field. And on the mound for the Harwich Mariners, it's going to be Antonio Menendez, the Wake Forest Demon Deacon, a reliever turned starter in the middle of the season. And as we mentioned in pregame, Tyler, Antonio seriously has improved his game since becoming a starting pitcher.
Yeah, and it makes sense because the other thing, too, is he's only started games at home. He's one of the most ritualistic pitchers that you will see in the entire CCBL. He has a very set routine. He likes to get to the ballpark at a certain time. He has certain things he does in between innings, before games, after games. But, again, he's much more comfortable doing all that at home, and it's really helpful for a pitcher to not have to worry about when he's going to come into a game, whether or not he'll have enough time to warm up. Antonio Menendez has time to set and go, and that's exactly what he'll do here today.
Let's take a look at the Harwich defense going into this one, as Chris Galland will be in left, Dylan Noisy in center, Joey Weimer in right. The infield looks like this: Riley Tirada at third, Hal Hughes at short, Corey Acton at second base, Nico Cavadas at first, and Sean Harrington, in just his second start with the Harwich Mariners, is behind the plate for Antonio Menendez. So Cooper Davis will lead things off, the Vanderbilt product, a late arrival for Chatham after winning a national championship with Vanderbilt. So here's Antonio Menendez, and first pitch of the ball game is low for ball one.
And a quick reminder just to everybody listening at home, as long as there is one team that takes the series to 1-1 today, tomorrow will be an off day for any team that sweeps. So until the entire first round's done, the second round will not start.
Davis takes a pitch in for a strike. 1-1 the count now, and it certainly looks like that's going to be the case with what's going on out in Katuitt. They have a 9-0 lead early in that game as Menendez misses outside.
Yep, 3 other games we'll keep you up to date on is, again, the 9-0 lead for Katuitt over Wareham. The YD Red Sox in a battle with the Orleans Firebirds. They currently lead 5-4.
Davis hits one on the ground towards Nico Cavadas. He underhands it to Menendez covering the bag, and the Mariners are able to get the leadoff man to begin the ball game.
Yep, one quick out there, and again, Menendez is a guy who hasn't gone super deep into most games. He's a guy who you typically expect to get somewhere between 4 and 5 innings out of. So if he can remain efficient, that could be something that really helps this Harwich team out. As you know, again, that's something they need with a shortened bullpen.
So here's Jamal O'Gwyn, the USC Trojan, batting from the right side. And first pitch is going to miss just outside.
Of course, just a reminder that yesterday the Chatham Anglers hitters went 0 for 27 with 3 walks and 2 hit by pitches in a combined no-hit effort.
Fastball misses low from Menendez, and it just seemed like not many guys looked too comfortable at the plate for Chatham, especially in the later innings, as 2-0 is in there for a strike, and in large part that's due to the way Joe Boyle pitched out of the bullpen.
I was about to say, I wouldn't be too comfortable with the guy throwing 98 to 101 on the radar gun, firing fastballs into me either.
That 2-1's going to miss down low, and unfortunately the radar gun out in Chatham peaked at 99, so we really couldn't tell exactly how many pitches that he was throwing that reached triple digits, as that's going to be a 5-pitch walk to Jamal O'Gwyn, who's sporting a new number today, wearing number 32. He trots down to first, and Chatham Anglers have one out base runner.
Yep, and that's, again, the only way they got base runners yesterday. You talked about it in the pregame, though. You said Jamal O'Gwyn, Caden Polkovich, and the rest of this lineup were probably going to be a little bit more cautious and try to work some walks. Well, they've gotten it done here in the first inning, and they've got a runner on for Caden Polkovich with 1 away.
O'Gwyn drawing his 29th walk of the season, tied with his teammate at the plate, Caden Polkovich, and first pitch to Polkovich misses up and away for a ball. Polkovich, the switch hitter, the only one in either lineup today. As a quick throw over on Jamal O'Gwyn. O'Gwyn with a couple of steals this season, but not a huge threat on the base paths. Menendez working from the stretch. The 1-0 is swung on and foul tipped, so ball glanced off of Harrington and went straight to the backstop, but it looked like Polkovich got a piece of it.
And you wonder whether or not Jamal O'Gwyn may try to test the arm of Sean Harrington. We haven't really seen guys try to swipe bags on him a lot this year in just the 1-game sample size, so this could be something that we may see Chatham try to exploit to their liking here, as again, Harrington was a very late decision to get the start behind the dish for Harwich.
1-1 is popped up back to the left end, foul out of play.
And you want to talk about a guy who's improved a lot. Antonio Menendez, his freshman season with Wake Forest, he went 0-5 with a 10 ERA out of the bullpen with 25 appearances. But in 2019, he's really stepped up his game, a 3.29 ERA, and that's in a ballpark where it's almost impossible to have decent pitching stats. Again, it's a hitter's park. Part of the reason why guys like Chris Lanzilli and Mike Ludwig have been able to put up monster numbers is throw over to first isn't in time. So here at Harwich, again, coming out of the starting role, really trying to prove to himself and to a lot of other people that sidearmers aren't just right on right or left on left specialists. And, well, so far he's done a pretty good job of that.
The 1-2 is hit on the ground by Polkovich to first. Cavadas to Hughes for one, and on the transfer, Hal Hughes loses control of it, but he does get the sure out at second as O'Gwyn is retired. Caden Polkovich advances to first, and he will be there with 2 away in the inning.
Yep, still a solid out for Harwich. Still nobody in scoring position, and Ben Ramirez coming up to the plate here to try to get something started for a team that, again, regardless of who the pitcher has been, has not been able to get much done against the Mariners. Want to also point out, Connor McCullough, after leaving yesterday's game, has now pitched 20 scoreless innings against this Chatham team.
He's just found tremendous success against the Anglers, the top team in the East, as first pitch to Ben Ramirez catches the inside corner.
There are a lot of guys like that. You obviously don't want to look too far down the road, but if it comes down to a series between Harwich and Wareham, you got a guy like Jacob Polish who has dominated against the Gatemen. A lot of pitchers that just see other hitters really well.
Runner going is Polkovich. He kind of stumbled and decides to retreat to first as Harrington got out of the crouch relatively quickly. The pitch was a ball, but Polkovich really stumbling getting out of that secondary lead.
Yeah, that was a decent jump. He probably would have made it into second safely, but for whatever reason just lost his footing there, and now Menendez will be more careful with him.
That 1-1 misses low to Ben Ramirez, who is 1 for 19 this year against Harwich, but he had a crucial RBI groundout that gave Chatham the go-ahead run and essentially the win right here at White House Field a couple of weeks back. The 2-1 is hit sharply out towards center field, but that will hang up plenty of time for Dylan Noyes to go back and make the catch, and that will end the inning. So Antonio Menendez pitches a scoreless top of the first inning. That's now 10 innings so far in this series that Chatham has gone without recording a hit, and we head to the bottom half of the first, 0-0. You are watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the first from White House Field, the Harwich Mariners look to take an early lead in this one as they will go up against Colby Kubicek, a guy who's only pitched 1 inning against Harwich this season. He was used as an opener at Veterans Field, and he pitched a strong first inning, but that was all the action he would see. And Tyler, he's been arguably one of the best starting pitchers throughout the Cape League this year.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of guys who have insane numbers, but a .91 ERA through 35 innings is impressive no matter who you are. And again, it doesn't matter what level you're throwing that at, much less against the kind of hitting that this featured in the Cape Cod Baseball League. So Harwich is going to have their hands full, and especially after, as you mentioned, they do get the win yesterday, but the offense was not on full display. Just 4 hits for the M's yesterday, and you look at how they manufactured that run. It was a Hal Hughes single. He moved up on a pass ball, came around to third on a drop third strike, and was driven in by a Chris Gallen sac fly. So about the quietest run you could produce, but when you don't give up any hits, it doesn't really matter, and we'll see whether or not Harwich can maybe make a little bit more noise here as Dylan Noisy, no pun intended, comes to the plate to lead things off.
Noisy batted 6th and went 1 for 3 yesterday. as he swings the first pitch and lines it down the right field line. Hit pretty well, but it will fade out of play.
Yeah, Dylan Noisy, one of just 2 guys to actually get a hit yesterday, one of just 3 guys to reach base. It was really the Hal Hughes show. He went 3 for 3 with triplets of singles. And then, of course, the solo walk from Nico Cavadas, the only other base runner the Harwich found.
Noisy tries laying down a bunt, but he hooked it a little too much as it rolls foul down the third base line.
And that would have been a really good spot to put the bunt down, right down the third base line. He did kind of succeed in catching Jorge Arenas napping, but at the end of the day, it skips foul, and the count goes 0-2 here on the speedster from Texas Tech.
Noisy, a late arrival, along with his Texas Tech teammate Max Marshak, another guy with blazing speed. As the 1-2 is a check swing, they will appeal down to first, and first base umpire says he held up 2-2.
I don't know how I just noticed this. How is Houston Morrill not in the lineup? I don't care who you're facing as a pitcher. He has been one of the hottest hitters in the CCBL over the last couple of weeks. It's a head-scratching decision to leave him on the bench.
Yeah, an interesting move is it was Cooper Davis who gets put in at center field. As there's a line drive out towards center field, and that will fall for a base hit right in front of Davis. He plays it on a hop, and Dylan Noisy reaches base with a leadoff single.
Yep, another dream start for Harwich here as they get the speed on first base, and if Chris Gallen can find a way to move him up to second, or maybe Dylan Noisy just swipes the bag, Harwich going to be very much in business here with nobody out in the first inning.
And back to your point on Morrill, interestingly enough, it was Caden Polkovich who was the center fielder yesterday. He has moved to second base to take Morrill's spot, and that allowed Cooper Davis to step into the lineup as a quick pickoff move onto first, but Noisy back in time. So Tom Holliday doing a couple of changes to see if he could spark something in this make-or-break game for Chatham, as another throw over to Alex Terrell, but Noisy back in time once again.
Yep, and of course Cooper Davis was not in the lineup the first time these two met. He gets the leadoff spot, as you mentioned today, in the starting center.
First pitch to Galland misses inside. Chris Galland was one of the hottest hitters in the entire CCBL and in the Mariners lineup for a 2-week span, but has since cooled off a little bit over the last week. 1-0 from Kubicek is swung on and missed.
Seems like we've said that a number of times, and every time we do, he ends up having a really big game. It was a 3 RBI performance against YD. It was a couple of RBIs he knocked in against Brewster. Games like that, the 3-run home run he hit against the Brewster Whitecaps in a game that allowed Harwich to clinch that final playoff spot. So we'll see whether or not he continues to have little spikes.
So 1-1 is a soft line drive to short. The flip to Polkovich for one. Return throw is in time. And wait a sec. The ball kind of came out of the glove of Terral, but they're going to say it was on the transfer after, so it's going to be a double play, in fact. A really strange play at first as the return throw wasn't time. Terral had caught it, and the ball kind of popped out about a half second after, but the ruling was that the ball was held on for a substantial period of time, so Chris Galland is a double play victim.
Yeah, and there's no contest from Coach Englert or anybody else on the Harwich side as the first pitch misses low to Chris Lanzilli, so they're going to let it play out. Again, nothing to be too worried about here early on, but yeah, an interesting play at first, and it's going to take the runner off the bases for Harwich.
1-0 pitch is swung on and missed by Lanzilli. Let's look at the defense for Chatham Anglers. Colin Hall in left, Cooper Davis in center, Jamal O'Gwyn in right, Jorge Arenas at third, Ben Ramirez at short, Polkovich at second, Alex Terral at first, and Brady Smith doing the catching. Fastball misses outside from Kubicek. Chris Lanzilli went 0 for 4 yesterday. However, he is still hitting 7 of 13 against Chatham this season as he pops one up back behind home plate. Smith will give it a look, but it is out of play. 2 of those 7 hits being doubles for Lanzilli, and he has driven in 5 runs. So he'll look to spark something with 2 away. Something that the Mariners have done all season long is pick up late inning runs with 2 away, as the breaking ball from Kubicek misses up and away.
The other big thing yesterday, 11 strikeouts for this Chatham Anglers lineup, and it was 6 for Joe Boyle in just the 3 innings that he pitched. Connor McCullough, ironically enough, with 5 Ks, actually his quietest strikeout performance of the year.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Lanzilli fooled on the breaking ball from Kubicek, who records the first strikeout of the ball game, and that will end the first as the Mariners go down quietly. We head to the second, scoreless from White House Field. You are watching Harwich Mariners playoff baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Second inning from White House Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry bringing you coverage of Harwich Mariners playoff baseball as the Mariners look to win their first Cape Cod Baseball League championship since 2011. As they will try to do so from the 4 seed in the East, taking on the 1 seeded Chatham Anglers, and coming into today with a 1-0 series lead, but we're scoreless through 1 as we head to the top of the second. Alex Terrell will lead things off for Chatham.
Yep, Terrell may have had the best day yesterday as he went just 0 for 2 and reached on a walk.
First pitch to the University of Miami Hurricane, and it's going to miss low and outside.
We'll see whether or not Menendez is willing to attack this lineup that, again, is going to be filled to the brim with left-handed hitting. And there he keeps another pitch on the outside half. He'll miss for ball 2. That's kind of been his game all year long, though. Just edge the ball closer and closer to the plate and then eventually get him over. But he doesn't want to risk throwing anything inside and allowing somebody to really turn around on one.
And there's another pitch low and outside that misses for a ball. Not only is he keeping it outside, he's keeping the ball. Basically, everything he's thrown's been below the belt.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's going to come out and have a 10 strikeout game, although he did strike out 8 against Brewster earlier this year. Here, he gets a pitch over for a strike. But, I mean, again, that's kind of his game all season long, and we'll see whether or not that continues to be effective here as he looks for another good AB.
He gets Terrell to foul a pitch off. Alex Terrell had a big game-tying double at Veterans Field earlier in the season against the left-hander Tommy Vail with 2 away and 2 strikes. So he's been a clutch hitter for Chatham at times this season, hitting just 200, though, with 2 home runs and 17 runs driven in. Payoff pitch is hit out towards right center field. That ball sends Joey Weimer back towards the track at the wall, and Dylan Noisy comes over and makes the catch on the warning track for a loud out number 1.
Yeah, that is about the loudest you're going to see as, again, the confines of White House Field going to help out Antonio Menendez. And you and I kind of held our breath there as that's been his biggest Achilles heel this year, keeping the ball in the ballpark. But Noisy, a good job to run it down, and a really good awareness there, going right up against the fence as he had to really kind of be careful trying to sprint that fast out there to right center field to make the catch.
So Paxton Wallace will get his first action in this series. The designated hitter lays off the first pitch low.
Yeah, and again, it was interesting to you and me that we didn't see Paxton Wallace come into yesterday's game. This year, Wallace has had his fair share of success against the M's with 4 RBIs and a home run.
Strike on the outside corner. Yeah, that home run came all the way back in the very first meeting between these two teams at Veterans Field in a 5-0 victory for Chatham on June 14th as the 1-1 pitch misses low.
Yep, and today, 4 spots in the semifinal round are up for grabs. The YD Red Sox currently hold a 1-0 lead in the series over Orleans.
This 2-1 pitch is over, but quite the game in YD as, well, in Yarmouth more specifically, as the Orleans Firebirds took an early lead. They lost it, and they just got it back. They lead now 6-5 as a strike 3 called on the outside corner. Wallace is stunned as it looked like some two-seam movement from Menendez on a fastball that came back over the corner of the plate, and they're 2 away in the top of the second.
Well, we talked about how he's going to be, kind of be cautious when he pitches to lefties, but against righties, he's going to go out there and attack, and that's exactly why he's been so effective. Talk about that late movement on the fastball. It's moving away from the hitter, and, a ball that I think Paxton Wallace was fully expecting to drop, and it just stays up before strike 3.
So Colin Hall will look to keep the inning alive, and he taps a ball off towards the Chatham on-deck circle.
Really quickly, in the West, the other two games that are up for grabs, the Falmouth Commodores can advance with a win over the Bourne Braves, and the Wareham Gatemen could technically advance with a win over Katuitt, although they trailed 10-1.
Lined and caught over at short by Hal Hughes as Colin Hall hit that one right on the screws, but unfortunately right at the shortstop to end the inning. It's a 1-2-3 second for Antonio Menendez and the Harwich Mariners. They look to get the bats going in the bottom half of the inning. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Colby Kubicek will like to continue his success after a strong first inning in which he faced the minimum, getting a huge double play ball against Chris Galland after Dylan Noisy reached on a single, and then closing out the inning with a strikeout to Chris Lansley. But he'll have to face a very tough 4, 5, and 6 hitters for the Mariners in Nico Cavadas, Corey Acton, and Joey Weimer.
And I mean, again, this is going to be probably another pitcher's duel, depending on how things go from here on in. But, you know, two really good arms on the mound and two really good bullpens to back it up with, the teams with, I believe, the number 1 and number 3 team ERAs in the league. So we'll see whether or not Harwich can find a way to strike first here, as they've done so many times before. And again, all it might take is one swing of the bat. Nico Cavadas delivered a 2-run home run against the Chatham Anglers earlier this year that gave Harwich a 2-0 lead, or 2-0 win.
So here is Nico Cavadas. Biggest power threat in the Mariners lineup. First pitch is a fastball from Kubicek that's in there for strike one.
And oh boy, Nico was eyeing that one as it went into the glove of Smith, but he'll stand back in again, falling behind here 0-1.
Pitch to Cavadas, skips in the dirt. Nico on the season hitting .252, 9 home runs, 30 runs driven in. He is tied for first in home runs and 4th in RBIs as the 1-1 misses low.
And this is what we've seen a lot of pitchers do. They go with the first pitch fastball to get ahead of Cavadas. They know he's typically going to be waiting on it, and then they throw him nothing but off speed. We'll see whether or not he even sees another fastball, although Kubicek may try to blow one by him with a lot of confidence.
2-1 is fouled straight back. There you have it. He went with a fastball high, and Cavadas could only foul tip it straight back. Kubicek out of University of Texas. And the right-hander with the 2-2. Breaking ball is yanked foul down the right field line.
You know, it's interesting that Colby Kubicek is actually the first Texas Longhorn to be playing for Chatham during the Tom Holliday era, which is strange because Holliday was the pitching coach at Texas during the team's 2005 national championship run. So it's strange that he hasn't brought more guys in, at least not during his first year from Texas.
2-2 is in the dirt, so Cavadas able to work the count full. We've seen him really improve his discipline at the plate. He was able to record a walk in the 7th inning yesterday. We'll see if he stays patient with a full count. And the payoff pitch misses up and away, so Cavadas able to reach base to lead off the bottom of the second, and that will bring up University of Florida's Corey Acton.
Yep, and that's back-to-back leadoff runners aboard for Harwich. We'll see whether or not they can make anything of it as Corey Acton comes to the plate. Acton was 0 for 3 yesterday with a strikeout, but really nobody other than Hal Hughes had an excellent day yesterday. Noisy, of course, reaching base with one single, and the other guy to reach was Nico Cavadas, who reached on a walk yesterday. He reaches on a walk again today.
Polkovich and Ramirez at double play depth up the middle. So this is for the second time the Mariners have the leadoff man on, and Acton flares one out towards center field on the first pitch. And catch is made out there by Cooper Davis for out number 1.
Yeah, pretty routine there. And again, Corey Acton, since going on his tear, has been arguably the most aggressive hitter in the Harwich lineup. We've seen him jump on several first pitches, and it's kind of a scouting report that pitchers are going to get. So we'll see whether or not that continues. Here comes another aggressive hitter in Joey Weimer.
Weimer hitting .273 on the year, a home run and 17 RBIs. He leads the Harwich Mariners as a team in on-base percentage with .390 as first pitch is in the dirt. Nice stop by Brady Smith. So Weimer's found a way to get on base a ton, as he has also walked 16 times this year, which is tied for the lead on the active roster with Nico Cavadas, who stands on first. The 1-0 misses inside. In fact, Cavadas actually just took that lead right back with the 17th walk of the season.
Yeah, and again, most of those walks came during the course of July as, after he tore things up, pitchers were being very cautious, trying to pitch around him almost, and he found his way on first base quite a bit during the span of those 3 weeks.
2-0 is a fastball missing outside. The bleachers here at White House Field filled to the brim. People bringing their lawn chairs, sitting out on the grassy knolls behind both dugouts. The 3-0, fastball on the outside corner.
Yep, of course, yesterday's game packed as well, 1,865, the attendance number there. Be interested to see what things look like here at White House Field today. But yeah, really, really good crowd on hand here today, and to nobody's surprise, as these two teams have the history of packing stadiums.
Kubicek's 3-1 is a broken bat flare into left field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Joey Weimer was really jammed on that pitch, but he was able to get his hands around and drop it into left field over Jorge Arenas' head, and the Mariners have a couple of guys on with one away in the inning.
I'm convinced that if Joey Weimer were to have the ball hit off of his hands, he could still put one like that into left field. It doesn't matter if you jam him. He swings so hard that even on a broken bat, the ball's going to go down the left field line. So here comes Sean Harrington, runners on first and second, one away for the M's, and see whether or not he can find a way to continue his good streak. Again, he started in his one and only game as a Harwich Mariner against the Brewster Whitecaps in what eventually was a tie. He scored one of the team's 4 runs, and reached 3 out of 4 at-bats.
Harrington takes first pitch fastball right down the middle for strike one. Harrington out of Babson College. He spent the first week of the CCBL season with the Falmouth Commodores. Actually had a little bit of action against Harwich in the season opener, as Kubicek's fastball misses outside.
Yeah, been a much-needed break for Pat Winkle. They want to try to conserve his knees as much as they can, as he's one of the biggest guys going forward. It'll be him and Harrington in lieu of Mike Rothenberg's absence.
That catching position seeing the most turnover out of any other for the Mariners this year. It's been kind of a revolving door, and there's a line drive into left field and a base hit. Sean Harrington makes it back-to-back singles now for the Mariners, and they have the bases loaded with one away and Riley Terada coming to the dish.
Well, I said it a couple days ago. I'll say it again. Welcome to the team. Sean Harrington just continues to stay hot, and sometimes that's all it takes. You get a guy who's feeling confident up there, and he does something like that. So here comes Riley Terada, as you mentioned, with one away. The bases are loaded. Harwich looking to strike first here in the second inning and maybe get a foothold here over Chatham against their ace.
Chatham infield still looking for that double play ball to get out of the inning. And it'll be Terada. And the first pitch to him is rolled over through the left side of the infield for a base hit. 1 run will score. Here comes Joey Weimer. The throw to the plate is way wide. It goes to the backstop, and the 2 runners still on base will advance, as it's going to be a 2-run single for Riley Terada, and the Mariners take a 2-0 lead.
I was just about to mention, and apparently I didn't need to help, that Colby Kubicek had given up just 3 earned runs the entire season. Well, he's now given up 2 in this game alone. So Harwich continuing to do what they do best, and that's find pitchers in the league with crazy good pitching stats and then just completely demolish said pitching stats until the pitcher is completely shaken up. And, well, here comes the pitching coach for the Chatham Anglers to have a word with Kubicek, as he'll now have one away, the double play not an option, with Dylan Noisy at the plate and runners at second and third.
There's 3 straight singles to left field for Mariners hitting, and the big one just coming now with Riley Terada hitting one that was not hit all that hard through the left side of the infield, as Ben Ramirez couldn't quite get there in time. It was between him and Jorge Arenas. The throw in from Colin Hall wasn't even close. I mean, this ball might have hit the backstop on the fly. That's how much he overthrew that one, as coming home to score was Cavadas and Weimer, and the bad throw allowed Tirada to move up to second and Harrington up to third.
And that throw could be the most important thing that happens this entire inning, because again, with one out and Hal Hughes coming to the plate, I mean, there's really nowhere to put anybody, and there's no double play option. The infield is in, trying to cut down the run.
First pitch to Hughes misses low and outside.
Hughes, of course, went 3 for 3 with a run scored yesterday. A very, very big day for the 9-hole shortstop out of the University of LSU.
1-0 is fastball up and away. Hughes has had these stretches where he's had multi-hit games. I think that was his third or fourth of the season. All of them seem like coming in the last 2 to 3 weeks. The 2-0 misses upstairs as Kubicek really losing control now.
And you don't want to load the bases. While that does put the double play back as an option, it brings up Dylan Noisy, who's already gotten 2 big hits off of Chatham in this series alone. So we'll see what happens here. With the 3-0 count, you got to think Hughes is taking all the way.
Here's the pitch, and that one is over in time as Dylan Noisy stands in the on-deck circle. Noisy, of course, led off the bottom of the first inning with a hard-hit single out towards right field. So he might get a chance. The 3-1. Ground ball to second. Nice play by Polkovich. He looks the runner back at third and throws onto Terral for a much-needed out number 2 for Chatham.
Yeah, that couldn't have really worked out any better for the Anglers, as now they just need one more out, but it's going to be a tough ask here with Dylan Noisy coming to the plate again. He had the hard-hit single back in the first inning, and then, of course, yesterday he was one of the only guys, actually the only other guy to have a hit, as he had a hard-hit ball back up the middle back in the second inning.
So Noisy at the plate with Sean Harrington at third and Riley Tirada on second base. A couple of new additions providing huge sparks for the Mariners. It's a one-hopper and it gets through Ben Ramirez. 1 run will score. Here comes Tirada. He will score. That ball was hit so hard it's going to be a 2-run single for Dylan Noisy, and Harwich doubles their lead 4-0.
And Dylan Noisy will not be denied right now. We talked about the couple of clutch hits that he's had already, and he comes through with another one. You got to think, for a guy like Dylan Noisy, who is in the College World Series playoffs, who was so close to making it to the next round and whose team came up just short, this is almost a second win for him and for a lot of these guys, as now they have a chance to play for a Cape League title, and under the brightest lights in summer baseball, he shined the brightest.
Already action in the Chatham bullpen as Dawson Merriman has begun to get loose. So Colby Kubicek picking a bad time to have his worst start of the season, as there's a high pop-up on the right side of the infield, and Caden Polkovich makes a catch to retire the side, but not before a 4-run outburst in the second inning. The second straight game for Harwich at White House Field, in which they've had a huge second inning, the other coming against Brewster a couple of days ago. So 4 for the Mariners, and after 2 innings, they lead it 4-0. You're watching Harwich Mariners playoff baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Top of the third, and the Harwich Mariners strike for 4 runs in the bottom half of the second behind a 2-run single from Riley Tirada and a 2-run single from Dylan Noisy, as the Mariners continue to find ways to score in the second inning.
And we figured there'd be some kind of an outburst in this game for one of these two teams, but You know, you and I kind of thought it may have been Chatham with the way they played yesterday. They were going to come in today angry and energized, and that just hasn't been the case. So Menendez is now getting what he hasn't had all season long, and that's some run support. We'll see whether or not he can hold it here against the bottom third of the Chatham lineup.
Jorge Arenas lays off first pitch in the dirt for ball one. Arenas hitting .250 on the season versus Harwich with the big home run a couple of weeks ago, as he's ahead in the count now 2-0.
Yep, Arenas was 0 for 3 yesterday with 2 strikeouts, looking to improve upon that performance.
He takes a fastball at the knees that catches the strike zone. Menendez pitching with a lead. He has yet to record a win this season. He's got the run support so far, and he pounds the strike zone there and fights back to even the count 2-2 on Arenas. Working quickly, the 2-2. Swung on and missed for strike 3. A little bit of tail at the end of that pitch, and Menendez picks up his second strikeout and the first out of the third.
And once again, Menendez wastes no time going after the righty. He's got the best stuff to go against him with. And, you know, to face off against a sidearm pitcher from the right side when he's throwing from the right side can be very tough. Here comes another one in Brady Smith, who he also yesterday was 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. We'll see whether or not he fares any better than Jorge Arenas did.
Brady Smith, first pitch swinging, and actually is going to lay off as it misses outside. Just able to check his swing. Smith out of Florida. Had a quiet night yesterday, but finds himself ahead on Menendez. Smith was in the 8-hole, and he went 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Infield playing relatively deep as 2-0 is over.
It's also worth noting Harwich has as many hits in this game through 2 innings as they did yesterday throughout the entire game. 4 hits yesterday, 4 hits in the second here today.
All of those coming in the first 2 innings, of course, as pitch misses inside, but 4 of them, and even 4, which is the same amount that they had yesterday, in just 1 inning. As 3-1 is hit sharply out towards right field, but it is right at Joey Weimer, who makes the catch, and Menendez with a strong start to the third, 2 up, 2 down.
Yeah, but now he'll face the top of the order again. Once again, a ball that just slices in the right direction as Weimer probably would have had the speed to run that down anyway, but he gets some help from the tail, and here we go again. Cooper Davis comes to the plate, looking to get the first hit in 2 days for this team. Again, Chatham has gone all the way through the lineup, now a total of 4.5 times without a single hit.
Just very frustrating stuff at the plate so far, as Davis will try to reach via bunt, but he pops it up foul off to the left.
Yeah, very strange bunt attempt there. Not really sure if that one just kind of jammed him or if he didn't get it back in time, but either way, he'll foul it off to the Harwich dugout.
Cooper Davis on the season comes into today hitting .240. No homers and just 2 runs batted in. His 2-1 misses outside. He does have 3 steals on the season, so when he does reach base, he's able to provide some speed. That's why they have him in the leadoff spot here this afternoon. 1-1 is on the outside corner. Chatham really limped into the playoffs, losing, I believe, 4 of their last 5 games, as the 1-2 is swung on and missed for strike 3. The second strikeout of the inning for Menendez, the third in the game so far, as he has pitched 3 scoreless innings against the Chatham Anglers. We're through 2.5 from White House Field. Mariners lead it 4-0. You're watching Harwich Mariners baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. back to White House Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry as the Mariners continue to dominate against the Chatham Anglers in this series. They lead at 4-0, and Chatham continues to struggle at the plate, but the Mariners quite the opposite after having a huge 4-run inning in the second against Colby Kubicek.
Yep, and they're looking for more runs here as Chris Lanzilli is 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Will lead things off, and be good to see him maybe take another one deep here as he's done the last couple of days.
First pitch to Lanzilli misses low and outside. He had a 3-run home run right here at White House Field in the front end of a doubleheader against Orleans and Brewster. The one coming in against the 3 home run game coming against the Orleans Firebirds as Lanzilli finds himself ahead in the count 2-0. Struck out swinging in his first at-bat against Kubicek, the only strikeout recorded so far by Colby as that ball's hit a ton out towards right field, going back at the wall, and a running catch made just in front of the warning track by Jamal O'Gwyn. He had to go all the way back towards the banners in the right field corner, but it's a long out number 1.
But another great display of opposite field power for Chris Lanzilli. And again, I mean, he didn't miss that one by much. So right now, Chatham is fortunate that it's not a 5-0 game. Here comes Nico Cavadas, who so far is 0 for or has not had an official at bat. He walked and came around to score back in the second inning.
Yeah, that walk kicked off the big 4-run second inning. So the first pitch to Nico is low, but he goes after it, swings and misses for strike 1. Cavadas, a guy with a ton of power, but high strikeout numbers that come along with it as the 0-1 is fouled off to the backstop. Cavadas also not a huge threat against left-handed pitching this season as he wrapped up the regular season hitting just .216 against lefties with 5 RBIs.
Let's get you an update really quickly on the other game going on in the East between Orleans and YD. Orleans started off up 4-0, then YD took the lead 5-4. Orleans took the lead 6-5. YD took the lead 7-6, and the game is now tied 7-7. What a ball game that's turned into out in the East.
What a series, really, that has been so far, and there's just been great games up and down the Cape League here in the playoffs. As Kubicek now delivers the 0-2, it comes in and it hits Nico Cavadas. So Cavadas reaches base for a second time, albeit this one much more painful.
He's going to leave the bat right there at home plate, typically tosses it off to the dugout. But you see, I mean, just the one thing with Nico Cavadas, he is huge. I mean, he's got muscle up and down him, and probably kind of flexing that one to try to prevent any more damage from being done. It just kind of bounces off, and he stares back at Kubicek and takes his base. Cavadas, without a single hit in the series, has now reached base 3 different times, the most of anybody not named Hal Hughes.
So Cavadas now a 1-out base runner with Corey Acton at the dish. Acton's got a lot of space on the right side of the infield with Cavadas being held on. And first pitch, he actually hits it the other way, foul off to the left.
Yep, once again, Acton's going after the first pitch. And, I mean, again, he's been very, very good over the course of the last 10 games. But maybe wanting to take a pitch or two here just to kind of settle into the at-bat as he's not actually had a hit in the postseason off of any of these first pitches.
The 0-1's in the dirt. Smith able to keep it in front of him as Acton came into game 1 yesterday, 10 of his last 22 with 2 home runs and 8 runs driven in. That was a 7-game span. As Acton was playing his best baseball of the summer in the last week of the season. 1-1 misses outside.
Yep, and Cavadas has done his best work this season in the confines of White House Field. So we'll see whether or not that trend continues as well. Another thing that we've kind of been tracking throughout the year.
The 2-1. That one catches the inside corner. Good spot from Colby Kubicek, who had a strong first inning, and then all of a sudden things just started to snowball on him last inning after the leadoff walk to Cavadas. Then it was 3 straight hits, including a 2-run single from Riley Terada. As 2-2 is swung on a miss for strike 3 as Kubicek able to bounce back. He picks up his second strikeout of the ballgame.
Yeah, this has still been one of the most uncharacteristic starts I think we've seen out of Colby Kubicek at any point this year. As we mentioned, he came into today's game giving up just 3 earned runs and 10 runs total on the year. Through 30 innings pitched, he's already given up 2 earned runs and 4 runs total today. So Weaver looking to continue that streak, again hitting over 300 at home this year.
And the first pitch to Joey Weimer is on the outside corner for a strike as Dawson Merriman continues to get warm in the Chatham bullpen. And as I say that, he sits back down. You wonder if he might be ready to come in when needed at this point. The 0-1. Foul tipped off of Smith.
I think maybe the most reassuring thing that we got to see out of Joey Weimer was him turning the corner at third base and coming home on the RBI single from Riley Terada, because, again, we hadn't really seen him run a whole lot on that leg. We'd seen him in the outfield jogging to chase down balls, but that was the first time we'd seen him at 100%, and he looks every bit as good as he did prior to that minor setback that he had.
The 0-2's in the dirt. Cavadas takes off, and he's going to steal second base.
And the dugout loves it. Nico Cavadas with a steal, showing the Katuitt scouts why they paid so much attention to him, I guess. That'll be stolen base number 1 for Nico Cavadas.
He got a great jump as Kubicek took a long time getting that ball to the plate, and he simply caught the Anglers napping, and he's in scoring position now with 2 away. The 1-2, swing and a miss, strike 3, so it's all for naught as Weimer strikes out swinging, and it's a big bounce-back inning for Colby Kubicek as he picks up a couple of strikeouts, and the inning is over. We've played 3 from White House Field, Harwich 4, Chatham 0. You are watching Harwich Mariners playoff baseball on the Mariners YouTube network. Fourth inning from White House Field, 4-0. The Mariners lead in front of their home crowd. And quick reminder that this game is brought to you in part by Curry College. Learning at Curry College extends beyond the classroom and is embedded in all that they do. Curry prepares students to engage in successful careers and active citizenship with a global perspective. Explore undergraduate majors, minors, and concentrations, including new majors in accounting, biochemistry, and software development. Online at www.curry.edu.
So it's another inning coming up here for Antonio Menendez. So far, he has looked very good. 3 strikeouts. He's given up just 2 base runners, 1 via fielder's choice, the other coming on a walk. So he has been very good throughout this start, and he'll have to face off against part of the top of the order once again with Jamal O'Gwin, Caden Polkovich, and Ben Ramirez coming to the plate. Chatham trailing in this one 4-0. This could potentially be the last game of their season if they cannot find a way to come back. And that may be a tall task against this Harwich Mariners pitching staff as the first pitch is fouled into the Harwich dugout. A couple of guys diving out of the way to save themselves, and the count starts 1-0 here, or 0-1 I should say, on Jamal O'Gwin.
And in this series, the lack of hitting from the Chatham lineup is really starting to catch up to them. We saw it all season long, and it hadn't really affected them, but now it has the worst possible time.
Here's a ball hit to short. Hughes comes in, charges, picks up, and fires on to first in time for the first out of the inning. Colin, you made a point earlier in this broadcast, and I want to come back to it. You said that the Chatham Anglers had lost 4 of their last 5. That is true, but they've also lost 7 of their last 8 games coming into the postseason. And whether or not you want to make the argument that maybe they were resting guys and trying to get ready for the playoffs, it's hard to turn around that much negative momentum at the end of a season.
It really is, and again, it all comes back to the lack of offense. We're seeing it in the playoffs. We've seen it all in the month of July, and it really has just haunted Chatham.
Here's a ball that is going to be roped down the right field line, but well foul. And coming up now is Caden Polkovich, who yesterday went 0 for 2, reached on a walk and a hit by pitch. He's continued getting on base, as he did come in today on a fielder's choice, but hasn't really been able to help his own case out too much. Nothing really that productive as he fouls another pitch off towards the dugout, and count will go 0-2 here. Antonio Menendez looking to put out Caden Polkovich.
It's been quite some time since the Chatham Anglers have hoisted a Cape Cod Baseball League championship. You have to go all the way back to 1998 for their last one.
0-2 is going to be popped high in the air out to left field. Chris Galland is charging it in, and he will make the catch right next to the foul line for out number 2. And yeah, that's an interesting thing of note, because for a team that is one of the most prestigious in the Cape Cod Baseball League, Chatham has not sat atop the league in quite some time. Of course, last year they were able to make it into the finals along with the Wareham Gatemen, but suffered a relatively embarrassing loss, and Wareham was able to hoist the trophy for the first time in quite some time themselves.
And if the Harwich Mariners are able to continue this run throughout the postseason and win the entire championship, they would pull even. Both teams would have a total of 5 championships in their team history.
Big swing and a miss at the first pitch here from Ben Ramirez. Yeah, this is a Harwich team that has had a lot of ups and downs throughout the course of its history. Of course, they joined the Cape Cod Baseball League back in 1930. They were able to get their first victory as the league winners in 1983. So this one is skipped into Harrington, and then they had a long drought. They made it to the championship series in 1968 against Falmouth for the first time, but they went on to win 4 straight in their first playoff appearance. They dropped back-to-back championships to the Hyannis Mets in 78 and 79, and then, of course, won their first title in 83 against Katuitt. They won another in 87 against YD. They were swept by Wareham in 1987, and then an 11-year playoff drought really set them back as Menendez misses outside for ball 3. As they went 11 years without even making the playoffs, but when they did come back, they came back big with a sweep over Katuitt in 2008 to take their third championship, and then won against Falmouth in 2011 to win their most recent title. Here's a ball hit to Acton. He will pick it up and fire on for the third out of the inning. It's another 3 up, 3 down for Antonio Menendez. We go to the home half of the 4th. Still a 4-0 lead for Harwich here on the Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Harwich, Massachusetts. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go to the home half of the 4th inning. Harwich will be sending to the plate 7-8-9. It'll be Sean Harrington, Riley Tirada, and Hal Hughes. But these are 3 guys who have arguably put the most production together for this team over the course of this series, haven't they?
They certainly have. I mean, Hal Hughes you saw yesterday with the 3-hit game, and now all of a sudden Riley Tirada and Sean Harrington also providing offense. They're 1 for 1 so far, each with a run scored, and Tirada kicked off the scoring for the Mariners with a 2-run single. So we'll see if they can continue that success, and it's going to be against Colby Kubicek, who is on to his 4th inning, but it has certainly not been an easy first 3 for Kubicek.
So Colby Kubicek back out there for another inning here as Sean Harrington stands in for his second at bat of the playoff series. So far 1 for 1. He came around to third on the error by the left fielder, and then came in to score on the 2 RBI single from Dylan Noisy. First pitch he sees is a fastball for strike 1. So with an 0-1 count, Harrington stands in the next pitch, and that'll miss up and out. Let's take a look really quickly at what Colby Kubicek has in his arsenal. A 4-pitch guy, fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. All of them have worked to perfection for him this year, with the exception of today, as the 0-1 pitch is going to be in there for strike 2.
Very pleasant surprise for Sean Harrington. I mentioned before, a lot of turnover at the catcher position, but Harrington just been completely ready to play since joining the Mariners.
0-2 will be fouled off the foot of Smith. So we'll see with a 1-2 count whether or not Kubicek can make something happen and try to get through another scoreless frame, as he's looked good in all but one of his innings. That swung through for strike 3. Smith will pick it up and fire on to first in time. So the strikeout on Sean Harrington will count, and that's now 3 consecutive strikeouts here for Colby Kubicek, but you wonder if the damage is going to be done early, and that may be too little too late.
Yeah, it seems like he's been able to finally bounce back, and As you mentioned, though, damage really done in that second inning. Once again for Harwich, they did that against Brewster back in the game that they clinched the playoffs in a 6-0 victory. Scored all 6 of their runs in the second inning, so it didn't really matter the rest of the way. And with Mariners pitching the way that they have, that might just be it.
Here's Riley Tirada, who is 1 for 1. He had a 2 RBI single back in the second inning, and it turned into a very big one for the Mariners. As you mentioned, the 4 runs coming across the score for the M's. He has no 1 count as Kubicek kicks and fires. Tirada squares to bunt, pulls it back. It's in the zone anyway, and the count is 0-2. Harwich, of course, looking to put together a deep run into the postseason here. They peaked at the right time, and by many were actually considered the team that they would take out of the series. It was interesting as we were talking to other broadcasters and media people throughout the league, how many teams really thought Harwich were the favorites to come out of the series with Chatham as that pitch misses for ball 1.
Yeah, and it really goes to show that the seeding isn't really indicative of the way the Mariners have played over the last 3-4 weeks. They have continued to get better and better at the plate, and they have the pitching to go along with a better and better hitting lineup.
1-2 misses in the dirt. Yeah, a lot of teams would, or a lot of people would look at this lineup and look at the pitching staff and you go, how did this team finish 500? Well, it was a really tough stretch at the beginning of the year where, again, they were behind Brewster and they just kind of kept losing game after game by 1 or 2 runs, but those games always tend to catch up with themselves as the 2-2 will miss in the dirt. That's 3 in a row by Kubicek that he has spiked onto home plate, and he's going to have to settle down here.
Yeah, and looking back, you kind of look at what win kind of sparked the rally for the Mariners. I really do think it was that win against Brewster right here at White House Field on the 4th of July.
3-2, swing and a miss by Riley Tirada, and now that is 4 consecutive strikeouts for Colby Kubicek with how he's coming to the plate.
As looking back on that 4th of July victory, the Mariners were up 4-1, and then all of a sudden the game was tied, so you started to expect, oh no, here we go again. It's going to be one of those games that we let slip away. But instead, Christian Fedko came up huge in that game and allowed the Mariners to pick up a 6-4.
Again, Harwich goes 1-2-3, but they still lead at 4-0. We go to the 5th here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.